Welcome to Speak the Unspeakable. I'm here with a special guest today. Larry, I first heard of you. I think you were promoting Heavy Hearts for a Hope-Filled Cause. Today, I'm hoping we can talk about music, talk a little bit about straight edge, definitely talk about, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which you supported with that album, and then your upcoming event that's going to support the Trevor Project. So I'm hoping we can talk about those things. Most importantly, though, I think it's important for people to hear your story. So I know you said you are pretty open about all this. So you're a suicide attempt survivor. So you've been at that place, and I am as well, and that's why this channel exists. So if we could maybe just start by hearing a little bit about your life, about your story, and how you got to the point where you are today.
Yeah, sure. I had made multiple attempts when I was younger, but I made probably the most I'd say extreme attempt in like late 2019. I was having a lot of like codependency issues with the person that I was in a relationship with at that time, and just a lot of inner issues with myself. And I didn't really, I was kind of putting myself into a position to where if I couldn't make somebody else feel good and lift them up, I automatically assumed that was my fault. And I kind of took the blame for everything. So I kind of just felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time. And so that kind of stuff slowly, and then also I was extremely unhealthy. And it was really affecting, my marriage was affecting all my friendships, my relationships with my family, and then my own mental health, unfortunately. And so all that kind of boiled down. And then one night I actually tried to take my life. And then luckily I was stopped, and it wasn't successful. And about, I think 3 days later, I started going and seeing a counselor, and it was a Christian counselor. And they did an amazing job. I'll leave her name anonymous because I don't know if she wants it out there or not, but she does counseling, and she actually has a pretty good hand in the Project Semicolon in Muskegon too. And so she's amazing. She did a great job of making me self-aware of all the issues that led up to that. I mean, all the different things of, and instead of like the very first thing I said, she asked me, she's like, well, why are you in counseling? And, I'm breaking down because I just had the attempt and everything 2 days prior. And I was like, well, I'm here so that I can save my marriage rather than so I can save my mental health and everything else like that. So right from the get-go, she was like, you need to focus on your mental health, because no matter what, you can't focus on anything else if you can't focus on your own mental health. You got to put your own mental health first. And so she made me aware of my codependency. She made me aware of all the other things that were triggers and things that I didn't really understand would, pull and trigger all these big emotions. And it was amazing. After, I would say 6-7 months with her, my outlook on everything was just completely different. And that was when I started doing the music thing for the Iron Sharpens Iron too. And then we did the compilation later, because I just felt, I'm like, well, now I can finally understand how to speak my voice, how to help other people that might be suffering, and let them know that it's okay to talk about this kind of stuff. You don't have to keep it hidden. And if anything, it's liberating for your own mental health to be able to be out about it. And it just to show people they're not struggling alone. So
that's exactly what I've found as well. So you attempted, or your kind of most severe significant attempt, somebody stopped you, so you didn't end up having to go to the hospital, but you got into treatment 3 days later. I mean, I think for a lot of people, if they don't end up going to an ER, or I think there are probably a lot of people out there that might even have attempted, and if maybe family know about it, maybe they don't, but they don't even get into treatment. So I mean, that's awesome that not that you were in that place, but within 3 days you got to see somebody that actually paid off and helped.
I was lucky. I mean, that was the one thing that my ex-wife did push for. That was good. And she did push for that right away. I mean, and I knew right away too that I had something going on, because I was self-aware of little things that just, I would never put myself first. And so I would constantly let that be on the back burner. So I'd always kind of know in the back of my head, I'm like, I just don't feel right. And I don't love myself enough. So then, those kind of like suicidal emotions and tendencies would surface whenever I was put in a place where I felt belittled or like I couldn't control the situation or that I wasn't worthy. And so, yeah, I was really lucky, and my family were extremely supportive from day one. They had no clue that I was having any of these kind of emotions or anything. So when I spoke out to them about it and let them know, I mean, they were fully help me as much as what they possibly could emotionally, and they were there.
Did anybody know about your prior attempts?
No. The only one that kind of had an idea of it was, I think, my mom.
Okay.
And, she was one of the biggest supporters after all of it. I mean, counseling really, I'd say, saved my life and then drew me and my family closer, because it made me more aware to be able to talk to them about my past like that. And it was very, very nice to, I mean, even just talking to my grandparents or my brother, all that kind of stuff. And then it made me realize red flags in my life that I should have been dealing with for a long time. And so it kind of really helped me map out where I should be in my life and what's healthy for me. So helped a lot. And my pastor actually really helped a lot too. And some of my worship team at fellowship too. So they helped a lot and just listened to me and helped just care for me and listen when I needed to talk and needed the support. So
it's pretty amazing that treatment opened up that many doors where it became something that was, and I don't want to put these words in your mouth, but for me, it was, my thoughts and attempts were a secret. So to be able to open that door where you don't just have your therapist that supports you, it sounds like you've got multiple family members, so many different avenues now. And I don't know, you might not even have an answer for this, but and is it safe to assume that with prior attempts, since nobody really knew that you weren't getting any counseling or treatment then?
Yeah, nobody knew anything about anything. Like my mom knew that I had depression and anxiety and stuff like that. And I mean, my dad too. And I was always more, I could speak about my emotions more. Yeah, I'm sure because of like music and art and all that kind of stuff, I just more articulated with that kind of thing. But nobody knew that I had made any attempts like that, or I was ever to that point of depression. People knew about the depression and everything, but not to that extent.
Okay.
So
can you remember how old you were, or what was going on the very first time you ever had thoughts of suicide?
Yeah, I think I was 14. I was 14 and just confused about life. I mean, I never really understood a lot of the common norms. I was bullied a lot in school. And a lot of that was just all over the place. Our school was really, really set on football and all that kind of stuff, and just the whole kind of, a very exclusive mentality. And if you didn't do the things, that were really, really cool, like any kind of group or clique or whatever, you get bullied. And it bothered me more than what it should have. But that affected it. I also just didn't know where I was mentally, where even my sexuality was at that point or anything like that. I mean, I'm a 14-year-old kid and I'm listening to Green Day and then wearing black fingernail polish and wearing the trip pants with the chains and everything on them from Hot Topic. So, I mean, I was just a kid and emotionally couldn't process everything that was coming in my head fast enough to know how to handle it. So. But
yeah, it's interesting, and I definitely am hearing parallels to some of my story, and especially with you use the word confusion, and I think that's the hard thing in those formative years of trying to get a grasp on life, and we don't always have the best models or people talking to us when we're young about all these different concepts, and we can take on so many different things that are just complete misunderstandings. You mentioned your therapist being involved in the Semicolon project, and I can't help but notice you got multiple tattoos, but I noticed one prominently, thanks to the angle you're at right now. We can see, for people that maybe don't know what Project Semicolon is, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what that is, and maybe sharing what that tattoo means to you specifically.
It means instead of a period and ending something with your life, it shows that suicide affected your life, whether you're a survivor, whether you know somebody that committed it or has attempted. It just shows that suicide has made an impact in your life, and it shows that you're taking that moment and you're going to try to pause and then move on and grow from it instead of ending there. And that was what it meant to me. As soon as I grew more clarity in the situation and I was able to focus on my mental health and understand that, if anything, my suicide attempts gave me a chance to grow in a million different directions and meet a million amazing people. I mean, I was not only able to grow out of a harmful relationship and then into a million great ones. I mean, through that compilation, I was able to meet a lot of really awesome people, and enough to be able to form two bands in a totally different state with them. And then my family life has been great. I mean, it's a great opportunity to pause and then collect your feelings and then move on in a great pathway that can affect you in a better way, and then all those around you can make a big difference.
And you said, you're reminding me of, so I'm a little unusual in that I pretty much think about suicide and suicide prevention every day, which is ironically, for about a decade and a half to almost 2 decades of my life, I thought about suicide almost every day because I didn't want to be here. But I was reading on some psychoanalytic theory and looking at suicide as maybe a state of interpreting it as not looking for death, but an attempt at transition, looking to transition from what is now to something different in the future. And I'm just hearing some of those kind of concepts and the way you're describing your experience after your attempt.
Yeah, it's liberating. I mean, the fact that you're able to change that many lives, and then just, the fact that you're like, I realize now, I wish that I would have had the knowledge that I have now when I was younger, because I would have been able to, grow myself or just be able to move and understand what a red flag is. I mean, even for that, like, I feel like counseling after any kind of mental health issue, boundaries are something that you don't really understand what's healthy for you. And so understanding those and understanding like when I need to take a break and just kind of decompress, because no matter what, your brain is wired. And so, you're constantly thinking, what can I do for suicide prevention? What can I do for this? I mean, we're doing this. I mean, then I did we partnered up with some friends and we did coffee last year, and we put that out, and that was for suicide prevention.
Oh, nice.
It was cool. It's a Oak and Crow coffee, and we did it through with the Coffee and Hardcore podcast with Iron Sharpens Iron, and some of the money from every bag went to the Prevention Lifeline. And so stuff like that is just all these little things that you're like, oh, I met these awesome people through doing something for suicide prevention.
Yeah,
you're like, all of us are doing all this stuff together.
And
Go ahead.
The coffee and the podcast you mentioned, that was somebody that was part of the compilation, right? That you did that with?
Yep. So Wiley, and his name is Mick. He actually used to play bass in a Christian hardcore band called Zayo a long time ago. And those two formed that podcast. And Wiley and I have known each other for years from like Michigan bands and stuff. And so they wanted to be a part of it, along with our friend Steven from Straight Edge for Christ. So they partnered and helped sponsor all of it. And that was how we put out all the physical copies and stuff. And then Wiley ended up saying, he's like, well, I want to start a straight edge band with some other people that are straight edge. And we ended up forming X Redline X in Chicago. And so now we're doing stuff with that. And then 2 Minute Minor lost her drummer. So then I joined that band too. So now I'm in 2 bands with Wiley.
Oh, wow.
And all that happened because of compilation pretty much.
Yeah.
So So it's pretty neat. All that stuff just kind of comes around, and it was all for suicide prevention, and met all these like-minded people or reconnected with other people. And now I get to do more things with them, and we can do even more stuff together for good causes.
So I want to come back to hearing more about your life story, but since you just mentioned straight edge, and I think I mentioned it off the top of the discussion, if you don't mind sharing what is straight edge. I think it's been referred to as lifestyle, but I also wonder if there's a philosophy there. If you could share more about what straight edge is, when you got involved with that, how you got involved with that, and share more about how that relates to the bands and the music projects that you're in.
Yeah, I've been straight edge for about 21 years is how long it'll be. And I'm 34. So I discovered straight edge when I was about 14. So about 15 years old, I was in high school, and one of my friends showed me some bands, and one of them was Shy Halud, and one of them was Bleeding Through and 18 Visions. And all these bands, they're like, these bands are straight edge like you. And I didn't really know what that meant, because I just had no clue. And they told me, like, it had to do with, abstinence from drinking, smoking, and anything that was really like an overindulgence of anything like that, but especially those. It was from the band Minor Threat's lyrics of the song Straight Edge. Mostly you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do drugs, you don't do anything that's harmful to your body. And that was how I was already living anyways, because I have addicts in my family. And so I chose to want to live that style of life anyways. And so when I found out that there's this group of people that live in that way and are proud about it, and they are from the metal and hardcore scene. And I guess that's the biggest difference, is straight edge isn't the same as being sober. They are two different things. So straight edge is just a sober means of living, but it comes and originates from the hardcore and punk rock scene, to where, being sober is, the same thing, but that's just being sober, to where straight edge does have to do with the hardcore and punk rock scene, because that's just where it came from. And that's where the term was coined. So even when people see like CM Punk on WWE and stuff like that, well, he loves Minor Threat and all these different bands that were hardcore bands. He just brought it into something that was more popular. And so I chose to live that way. And I'm sure I was way more judgmental about it when I was younger, and didn't really quite understand it, and viewed it as more of an exclusive kind of thing. And I think that's how most people view it when they're younger. But as we all get older, we kind of realize that it's much more than that. And it's a means of trying to live the best life that you can live, so that you can help other people live the best life that they can live. So, I mean, yeah, it's don't drink, don't smoke, don't do things that are harmful for your body, but also, be in opposition to racism, be in opposition to transphobia, sexism, all these different things that affect the music and hardcore scene and your community in general. Stand up for people that are struggling and try to help them. And then it's not to look down on people that are addicts. It's to try to be there for people that are addicted to something, and try to give them the resources and love and support they need to grow and try to get past their addictions. So straight edge is a really broad term, but I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there to grow and be the best person you can be, and help other people grow in the same process. But that's kind of how I first learned about it. I was about 14, 15. And then after I lived that lifestyle longer and longer, I realized it was a very wide variety of multiple things that can all be positive for your life if you use them in the correct way. So
yeah, I think back. So when I was in high school, I was more of a pop punk guy. Like my ultimate favorite band is Lagwagon. So but I had heard of, straight edge and heard some Minor Threat. And when I was in college, was familiar with it, but I never looked too deeply into it until just started reading more really after you put out your compilation, it was maybe even leading up to when I first heard of your compilation coming out,
Okay.
with suicide prevention, and knowing that sobriety is a really big protective factor with regard to suicide risk. And that's not to say that being sober is a magical shield, and that sobriety is a foolproof, plan, but there's definitely a protective factor there, which it was like a light bulb went off, and just really intriguing to look at that and think of, this is, especially the fact that it came out of, hardcore punk scene,
Right.
which you wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't, without knowing more, wouldn't necessarily assume, especially when you're talking about, there are definitely lifestyle components to it, but it sounds like a philosophy and an ethic and a morality to it, which is just a lot of concepts together. And it does seem like promoting that could promote, like promoting straight edge in certain elements, if it's inclusive, and really could be promoting life and suicide prevention in a certain way.
Yeah.
Do you look at it like
Absolutely.
that? I mean,
yeah, I mean, and alcohol is a depressant. I mean, there's multiple things. I mean, there's so many different viewpoints of viewing, what it is that's a drug or anything like that. I mean, personally, I don't smoke marijuana or anything like that. But if somebody uses that as a medicine and uses that a tool, I'm not going to shame them for that, for whatever it is. I mean, I know a lot of people that use it for purposes and it helps them in their life. And if it helps you in your mental health, I have friends that they can't sleep unless they take edibles, and I fully support that. I know animals that have bad anxiety, and they've given them the animal treatments for that, and that helps them relax, and they're able to, have a happy way of life. And so, I mean, it's a lot of different things like that, but the depressants are pretty hard to kind of, I guess, to want to support. I mean, especially alcohol. I mean, it's a depressant, so I've never really heard of that helping someone, especially somebody that has suicidal kind of idolations or anything like that. It's just something like that's a depressant. That's really, really hard. I know a lot of people in my family that were alcoholics and never helped those kind of feelings. I mean, and everybody reacts to everything differently. I mean, but it definitely affected people in my family badly, and so I never really wanted to touch it anyways. And so I definitely would think that for mental health things of that nature, so like straight edge definitely helps. I think living that kind of a lifestyle, and just being open to wanting to live your life free of something else intervening with it. I mean, I know a lot of people that are sober. I know a lot of people that have different things like marijuana, edibles, stuff like that. But a lot of the harder stuff, it's really hard. I mean, I don't know anybody that's ever done heroin and thought it changed their life for the better. So, I mean, straight edge and mental health and suicide, I think all of them kind of dance together, and it can be really important. It can be devastating, but you can use those tools to help one another.
Yeah, and I mean, I really appreciate you bringing up basically the concept of self-medication, right? People trying to cope. If it's having negative effects on somebody's life, then that's where it's the issue, right? So, I mean, I could look at my mental health history. I got into treatment, probably started taking antidepressants by middle school, freshman year of high school, around there, and then tried a bunch of other medications, antidepressants, antipsychotics, all these other. So it's like those are drugs too, right? It's just I had a prescription for them, and so I think alcohol, that is a tough one, because it is very much, this might be the wrong metaphor, but a double-edged sword, right? It in certain instances can help somebody that is experiencing cope with painful emotions, but it also has the ability to bring people to really bad places too. So it's kind of double-edged in that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, that kind of stuff is just you never know how it's going to affect you, and it affects everybody differently too. So no matter what it is, and I know a lot of people that don't like antidepressants too, and just because they say it clips the highs and it clips the lows, so it helps you. Some of them, in the way that it affects certain people, it makes it to where they can't feel the highs of life too. So then it feels like you're kind of just on autopilot all the time. So no matter what it is, I think everything is different for each individual. So that's what everybody has to know and be encouraged, is that no matter who you are and what you struggle with, you have the support behind you to keep trying, and then have all these avenues to try different kinds of treatment and find whatever is best for you. But yeah, I mean, yeah, all of it's a drug, all of it's treatment, and not one in particular answer is correct or wrong. That's the thing that's kind of scary about mental health.
So yeah, very individualized. And I think that's a concept that, you know, if we talk about mental health more, if we talk about mental illness more, we might have a better understanding of that it really is individualized in nature. But I think that things when they don't get spoken kind of get left in the dark and misunderstood. I wanted to talk a little bit about, make sure we talk about your upcoming event, your upcoming project, and maybe even starting with, supporting the Trevor Project, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what the Trevor Project is, and then how this event came to be.
Oh yeah, for the Trevor Project, I just feel like I did a lot of stuff for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that's a very wide open for everything, you know. It doesn't focus on one in particular issue or anything like that. And I just feel like not enough people, I mean, and I actually know a lot of other people close to me that struggle with, you know, what they identify sexually, and or they're looked at a certain way because of what they identify as. And I mean, and same with me. I mean, for a long time, I questioned my sexuality just because of my emotions and things like that. And so I wasn't really sure how to view myself, and that definitely added to my depression and anxiety at the time, because people you know, bully people for just being different. And so I wanted to try to help in any way I could to anybody that might feel like they're going through that. I mean, especially any of these younger kids that are going through, you know, self-discovery and trying to understand who they are, because it took me forever to understand who I was. So they shouldn't be shamed for what they're trying to figure out in their life and the feelings that they feel and portray. And a lot of them, I see a lot of them have depression and anxiety, and I mean, they're so young and they have such a long life that could be ahead of them. And I really hate hearing anytime I hear about anybody that's we've lost, you know, from things like that. And so I wanted to reach out and try to do something for the Trevor Project in particular, because so many people in our area have been affected by that particular issue. And I got a hold of Hope for a Day, and they gave me some pretty awesome LGBTQ stuff as far as like information and pamphlets to hand out that have a lot of really good info on it, and numbers and websites and stuff like that. And you guys offer everything too. I mean, there's so many different options for people, but they don't know about it. So especially young children, I mean, they have the internet at their fingertips, but how much of it is stuff that's going to be given to them that they'll actually know can help and improve their life? Social media doesn't try to do the best to try to help other people. So we can try to help each other.
So for those that are watching that might be either local to West Michigan or just from Michigan or regionally close enough where they might be able to attend the festival, if you don't mind sharing the name, where it's going to be, when it is, and give us the scoop.
It's called the Michigan Metal and Hardcore Festival, and it is going to be at Skelletones in Grand Rapids. and it's going to be $25 for the day and $5 of the 20, and goes right to the Trevor Project. We're just going to set all of that aside, and then at the end, we're just going to donate whatever we're able to get to it in one big lump sum. And then the doors start at noon, and it has our band Iron Sharpens Iron, and then actually my buddy Colt that I play my other band with is going to do an acoustic set by himself at the beginning of everything. And then we have some amazing people that are going to be playing the fest from all over kind of Michigan and further. My friends in X Represent X are going to be coming from Erie, Pennsylvania to come play.
Nice.
Wounded Touch is going to be playing. They're from Detroit. They're really, really cool. MDOP are some up and coming awesome kids in the hardcore scene, and all of them are very, very pro LGBTQ. They have their hands on a lot of stuff that's just really positive, and they're awesome people. They're one of those bands that are just now like I want to try to help them as much as possible, because they're all great people and I really want to see them succeed. And Drink Their Blood is playing, great people. They'll play a breakdown and then 2 seconds later have a saxophone solo. So that'll be interesting. Yep. And then yeah, those bands, Terror Cell, Gore Throne, whole bunch of different bands that are going to be playing. Knee Deep in the Dead are friends of ours from lower Michigan and Indiana. So there are going to be a lot of bands all playing that are just really good people and friends. Worst Self is going to be playing. Yeah, it should be a really, really good time.
Sounds like
we're going to have a lot of information there.
Sounds like a full day. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's right now it's going to be running from noon to at the latest 10 p.m.
Okay. By the way, I play a little bit of saxophone, and I have never pictured that potentially fitting into either a hardcore or metal band. That is intriguing.
It is awesome. My buddy Benjamin Boggs plays in that, and actually the Iron Sharpens Iron, our bass player Jeff, he plays guitar for Drink Their Blood.
Okay.
So nice. And Jeff's actually in my other two bands with me too in Chicago. So we're in like 3 bands together. And yeah, Drink Their Blood is just a blast. They're really, really cool guys. They're from Grand Rapids, and I think maybe they might have a member from Grand Rapids. I'm not sure, because they got some new members, but awesome. Like they're just a fun band full of really, really cool people, and they're very, very like pro mental health. So having people like that on the bill just makes it even better. So, but yeah, that should be a dang good day.
Yeah, and even for folks that might not know any of the bands, or even might not have ever been to a hardcore show, supporting a worthy enough cause to maybe check it out, right? See what it's all about.
Right.
So I know we
made a fundraiser page too. That's on the Iron Sharpens Iron page for people that can't make it, because we do a lot of stuff that's international, and so if our friends in Boston can't make it, or California, yeah. There's a way for them to give to it if they want to.
And that's on your Facebook page, right?
Yep. That goes directly right to the Trevor Project. Okay. It's just a Facebook fundraiser.
Awesome. So we've talked about music, and obviously how straight edge kind of ties into your mental health. But I was wondering, does music, even removed from the straight edge lifestyle or hardcore genre or any of that scene, does music itself have an impact on your mental health? And if so, how?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I became, I guess the easiest way to put it, like I engulf myself in music sometimes, especially when I don't know where I'm at mentally. I was in a really unhealthy relationship, unhealthy enough to where I'm really, really glad I had my attempts when I had it. And then I went and sought counseling when I did, because if I wouldn't have had that before my spouse left, I might have had a trigger, and I don't know how I would have handled it. But thankfully, with the way that all of that counseling and everything set me up for success, I was able to understand what was healthy in the situation, how to approach things correctly, know what's fair and what's not fair, and really put down boundaries and be like, no, this is what's healthy for me, and I'm not being unreasonable with some of the things I was asking, or just the way I was looking at things. So after dealing with all that, I understood what red flags were, which I would have never understood when I was younger. And after I first became alone again, I would say I engulfed myself with music. I joined the 2 bands in Chicago. I played more in my Iron Sharpens Iron. My friends from Infinite Design joined that to help write it, and that's how we got the live lineup. And then Colt Snuffer and the Dead Horseman, we started playing a lot more shows last year. We recorded that. I mean, between this year and last year, I think I recorded and was a part of 7 albums. So it just tons of stuff. And then I also still played at church all the time,
Right.
and then started doing a solo thing where I'll play open mic nights too. So
Nice. You're a busy man.
yeah, I mean, right now with Colt and us, I mean, because we play a lot of just fun stuff. We have a lot of really cool original stuff. We almost kind of call it like psychedelic gothic rock. I mean, because his stuff was more like gothic blues, and me and my buddy Brandon joined, and now we're more like, I don't know, we'll play Johnny Cash, and then it's joined into a Ramones song.
Nice.
And so like that, and then our original stuff all has like wah wah pedals and double kick pedals, but harmonicas. So I mean, it's fun. And so we're doing a lot of stuff like that, and we're booked all the way out until Thanksgiving. So
wow.
And it's going to be a busy year, but in the process of all that, music brought me to so many awesome people, and it helped my mental health. And then, yeah, so much that it actually helped me find my spouse, even because I was playing in music and not concentrated on trying to find somebody that would love me for me. And I feel like when you concentrate on something you love, like music or art or anything that you're passionate about that helps your mental health, things happen in your life when they're meant to happen in your life. If you're looking for something, I feel like you tend to ignore the red flags and things like that, or you stretch your boundaries a little bit because you just don't want to be alone. And if you're somebody that struggles with suicide and mental health, like, being alone is scary. And I think that's why I focus so much on music and being in all these projects, but I was still at the end of the day alone at home. But I ended up connecting with my spouse, and it's been the best relationship I've ever had. I mean, so much where I've never even noticed one red flag, and we can both be complete dorks and sing Celine Dion in our car together for 2 hours and have a blast. And just stuff like that. And I can say right now, between that, music, my family, I feel the fullest I've ever felt in my life. And I can be completely open with my emotions and just not even care about whatever backlash comes from that. To me, if I have 20 people laugh at me because I talk about my sexuality or something like that, but I have one person that says that it helped them, it was worth it.
Yeah. You talked a lot about part of what you have gotten from therapy is like those learning about boundaries and really things that deal with relationships. I'm wondering if there are other, I don't know if coping skills might not be the right word, but I wonder if there are other things that you've taken from therapy, if there's 1 or 2 things that are the most helpful to you that you've learned over this time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like those setting your boundaries. I would say, like, my biggest thing is for boundaries, I always at least give people chances, and I want to sit down and talk to them, because the internet's rough. I mean, you sit and text to somebody and you're like, you don't know how they meant to say something in return. Unless you can hear somebody's tone of voice, you don't want to take anything too, literal, or you want to always give it a chance. But after you realize a relationship is bad for you and it's not good for you, then you realize you have to make a step to either correct that of what's hurting you, or you need to move on from that because you've grown past that. So, and then other than that, I would say I use the 5 senses technique a lot. So if I start to have anxiety or a panic attack or anything like that, that's what I use. Your brain is so dead set on thinking the same way when you're trying to when you think of anything that triggers you, having a bad day at work, and you're like, well, this is like this, and every day is going to be like this. Well, it's not. It's a situation. It's a moment. It'll pass. Like the five senses thing helped me a lot. And it's mainly like 5 things that you can touch, 4 things you can hear, and it works its way down all of your senses. And it helps you kind of just get that past that moment of anxiety or of a trigger. And then it kind of lets you kind of reclaim your thought process again, instead of getting caught on something that you're just going to get hung up on and then keep on obsessing over.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times suicide for me was something that happened after a fight or flight moment. And so I obsessed over these situations and issues, whether I could control them or not, whether they were real or not. That was what I would obsess on. And now I know that that's not healthy. And that's one thing that really helps me a lot. That and self-love, and just understanding that you have to take time for yourself. You have to take time for your family. Whatever is in your life that brings you joy, you don't ever want to cut from that to make room for other things. You have to have a healthy boundary, healthy schedule for stuff, whatever it is. I mean, you want to do whatever is right for you and what's healthy for your mindset, and so that that's all part of your treatment. No matter whatever drugs you may or may not be on, or whatever your habits or anything are, it's needed for you to be able to have boundaries and do whatever is healthy for your mind.
Larry, do you think when you first got into straight edge, do you think that had some building blocks of self-love? Because obviously I could hear as part of the ethic is what I put in my body is taking care of yourself. Do you think that was a building block for some of that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that. And then for me, it was trying to be, because I saw it cause so much harm in my family. And I know that a lot of that came from mental health issues partnered with those things. I had an aunt that was really heavy into drugs, alcohol mainly, but also the heroin and stuff. I had a grandparent that was very, very heavily into drinking for a long time, and all these different things. As a child, you just see, you love all these people, and you love them through it, but you also see situations to where those elements ruined a part of of a situation. You're having a great day, but then all of a sudden this happens because this person wasn't in control of their body, and then that's what you focus on, because you're 9. You're going to remember something that's traumatic over top of something that was smaller. And I just realized, I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to have to be relying upon any of these kind of things if I'm going to have to worry about doing that to other people in my life. Mm-hmm. And so part of it was just not wanting it to repeat things. And then after I realized there was other people like this, and we could do awesome things like throw a festival and have fun together and eat pizza and have all these great memories, I realized it was like straight edge could be a building block for something great and community. And that's really what it is a community. I just started doing some columns and writing for this website called X Sisterhood X, and it has to do with women and the straight edge movement and how important they are, because sexism plays a big part in everything, and the metal and hardcore scene is no exception. So things like that, even it's like feminism, racism, like it's so many opportunities with straight edge to help better those causes and bring attention to them. So it is mental health driven, and just anything really. I mean, all those kind of things that can help society be better. I can use my straight edge movement because of people I've met through it, and do great things from it. I mean, a lot of my oldest friends either are or were, and it's just a good society, no matter what. I mean, it's their family. So.
Well, I'm really glad you brought, especially specifically thinking to the question about straight edge, that you brought it back to what really is the most important thing, community, right? Probably the same thing with, and this is my suicide prevention brain thinking about like protective factors, but thinking about like church attendance, right? It's really it's the community, right? It's the community there that is there, that provides the support, that helping each other get through the difficult times. And same thing with straight edge, same thing with the music scene. might be something different for other people watching, might be something different for me, but that when it comes down to it, that's what ultimately can get us through.
Yeah.
I
Right. And I mean, for church especially too. I mean, church for me, I mean, to me, a church is the best. I mean, because I'm not a huge structured religion kind of guy. I'm more of a spiritual, like, you know, be a good person and love other people. Do things in your community. Don't live it as a checklist kind of. And to me, that's one thing. A lot of the people on my worship team that play with me is all of us are like that. I mean, a lot of us are pro LGBTQ. We don't like, I don't want to ever be a part of something as a religion that people are refused at the door to, or as soon as they come in, they're judged. I mean, because that's one thing I've always said to people that I go to church with, no matter what the church would be, is, you know, if you're going to start pinpointing subjects like, you know, gay rights or abortion or anything like that, well, then you have to start pinpointing all of them. And that means, you know, people that are cheating on their spouse and all those kind of things like that. And that seems to never be the things that happen in churches that focus on those things. They're usually always pinpointing it for kind of an agenda, I guess I would say. And so my thing is just love, you know, try to teach lessons if, you know, it calls for it. Like, that's one thing I like about our pastor is he'll say something and it'll help everyone think. He doesn't pinpoint about one certain kind of, you know, group of people or anything. He just pretty much says, this is something we could all do better to love one another. This is something that we all struggle with. This is something we could work through and we can grow together because of it. Like doing food trucks, doing hand-to-hand stuff where you bring, you know, food into our schools for kids, kids food basket, all these different things in Muskegon just alone. All these are things that I feel like more churches need to get involved with because it helps everyone and it's more than just themselves.
Well, I think this is the same church you're talking about. They do something that's close to my heart. There's a bicycle ministry that they put together fixed bikes, get them out to community members that need that for transportation, need that to get to find work, to get to work, to run errands. So yeah, I know a little bit about some of what you all do there. My little brother and I tried to volunteer there for a while before, you know, COVID and everything shut down. But yeah, a lot of amazing things. So thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
It's crazy.
Well,
oh yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that I love. I mean, it's just sharing that love and everything else with the community. Like West Michigan Teen Challenge does a lot there, and you know, they have a lot of stuff between mental health and abuse. So they share their stories and spread it. And they had a project Semicolon on a Sunday that I was able to speak at and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of great people that are involved that come into these situations and help other people grow. So it's awesome.
Well, thanks for taking your time out to talk today. This may sound, I don't want this to sound trite, but I mean, if you hadn't survived your attempt, man, I just feel like so many, and you've only shared a handful of stories, but so many people would be missing the privilege, the opportunity of knowing you. I would not get to have this conversation with you. So is there anything that we didn't talk about so far that you think would be really important to share with somebody out there that might be watching, maybe specifically somebody out there that might be watching that might be dealing with thoughts of suicide, that might be in a place where they're questioning, maybe would I be better off if I weren't here? Is there anything that you think we missed or that you'd want to share?
I would just say the biggest thing is just know that you're not alone. I mean, there's always somebody that wants to listen and be there for you. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed so many times with all these different people that I've met through whatever thing, whether it be straight edge or music or community or church, you know, every time somebody says that they have somebody that's facing depression or somebody that they've lost, they just wanted to be heard. And, you know, I mean, even like just anything. I mean, just they just want somebody to know that they care and that they matter. And so just know that everybody cares about people. I mean, no matter what, it could be a stranger on the street, literally. And most of the time, somebody would want to listen to you and want to see you on this earth. You know, the earth is always better with you in it. You can make a difference. People love you. And I mean, that's my biggest thing is, to me, nobody isn't worth living. Like, this world is better with everybody in it. I mean, to me, anybody questioning that kind of stuff, and the biggest thing is just reach out, because somebody wants to talk to you. Somebody wants to help you through your situation. And somebody wants to help you grow from it. Those kind of situations sometimes will make your life better in tenfolds and help you grow. And you'll be making differences in your community or with other people or in your own life that you never even knew that you'd make. Sometimes you can improve your life through that depression and anxiety. And all it takes is just reaching out to somebody, and they'll listen. More people will want to listen than what you'll ever think. So.
Well, I think just by the fact that, you know, you're sharing your story, I think part of that thinking that nobody is out there, that nobody cares, or I think part of that is also the thought that nobody understands. And I think by you sharing your story, by us having this conversation, hopefully that gives clear evidence that we're out there. There are people that, like you said, people that want to talk to you, people that want to be there for you. So with that, thank you, Larry. Really appreciated this conversation, and look forward to what the next thing that you're up to.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, it was great to be able to finally talk in person and be able to put a voice and a face to everything. And I'm stoked to doing more stuff in the future together too.
If you like this video, comment, click subscribe, and give a like below. Take a deep breath, now let it out. Roll your shoulders back and hold your head up high.